Hi, this is Stephen Edwards from Track Tax Accountants. In this video, we're going to show you how to get set up on Xero. It's based on a very simple setup, essentially sort of new businesses, so there's no historic data that needs transferring across. You may have watched our previous videos, which cover an introduction to bookkeeping and also a bit of an introduction into Xero. So this is the first proper practical video around Xero. Nothing too exciting because it is literally just getting you set up. So I'm going to sort of whiz through. Don't want to drag it out because I'm sure you guys want to get set up as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So in this first screen, it's essentially just showing you where you're starting from. So you've got your tabs at the top. So you've got your starting position, and we want to go all the way across to done. So in the first screen, just press next. There's nothing to do here. The next screen, so the first screen you need to really do any input is your settings, your organisation. So you've got the name of the business and the display name. The registration number is the VAT registration number. Don't worry too much about that at this stage unless you're planning on filing your own VAT returns. And it's not essential either for you to put your address down here to get set up. If you're going to be raising sales invoices, you will need to add your address at some stage, but I wouldn't worry about that initially on this screen. Organisation type tends to be limited company or sole trader typically, so just select whichever is relevant for you. Okay, so it's going to ask you if you are VAT registered. So I'm going to say yes, but a lot of you will not be VAT registered, just to show you if you are watching this video as a VAT registered business, what you need to do. So you've got two VAT schemes. You've got the accrual and the cash scheme. The accrual is also known as invoice scheme. If you're unsure what scheme to set it up on, please use the cash scheme, but check with us what scheme is relevant for you if that's something that you need to know. That period, 9 times out of 10 is quarterly, and you can enter your VAT number if you do have it at this stage. Financial year end is actually relevant for everyone, whether you're VAT registered or not. If you're not limited, so if you're a sole trader, typically it's the 31st of March, which is why I set up and defaulted into that, because the tax year is the 5th of April and the 31st of March is the nearest month. So if you're not limited, you can be limited and be 31st of March, but you can also be any other date. You could be basically January all the way through to December if you're a limited company. If you're not sure what your financial year end is, you can check it on Companies House. Or you can ask us, that's not a problem. But just to quickly show you how to find it on Companies House. Sorry, I just whizzed through that. So you Google Companies House, click on the top link, find company information, and then you go to Start Now, and basically search for your company. So we just search for a random company, find your company name, click on the link, and down here you've got next account made up to, and it's essentially this date, which is the really important date, and that is your financial year end. So we're going to pretend that's our year end in this example. I'm going to change it to the 30th of April. It tends to always be the end of the month. I have seen on really randomly an odd day, but that's quite unusual, so it will be the end of the month typically. We won't show invoice settings for this particular video because most clients don't tend to use the functionality of raising their own sales invoices, but I will do some separate resources around getting set up to do your own invoicing. Okay, so the next screen is if you'd like to invite any users. If it's just you and you're setting up yourself, you won't need to invite anyone, but you might need to invite a staff member, or your partner, or anyone you feel you need access to Xero. You can invite them at this stage, but you can go on to do that later on also. So we're just going to say no in this example. If you do need to invite people, it opens up a new screen, asks you for their first name, last name, email address, and you can also personalize a message for them. It also asks you what access you want to give that person. Typically, you only need to click on the business and accounting section, which is the third option on that screen. Foreign currency, I've never personally come across this. Any business needs to use it on Xero, but if you need to have different currencies going on Xero for to suit your business, that is an option. So we just whiz through that. The chart of accounts is an interesting one. It's basically all the different categories of income and expenses you could have. So most businesses they're fine with the default chart of accounts. So one revenue code for money coming in, one sales code, and the standard expenses, so motor expenses, costs of goods sold, wages, telephone, computer expenses, all that kind of those typical expenses. If you are importing from a different system, we'll probably do more detailed video recording, but you can import a custom chart of accounts, and you can also use the default initially and tweak it and add your own sort of categories to suit you later on. Okay, so this is what the chart of accounts look like. This is the default one. So you've got sales income, other revenue, interest income, cost of goods sold, and it sort of goes on. And it is something you can amend and tweak later on to suit your business. So if you just scroll to the bottom, it is hidden a little bit on this tab. Scroll to the bottom and just click on next. It says at this stage you've not added a bank account. I like to add the bank account later on. So just say yes, I'll continue anyway at this stage. Conversion date it's all to do with when do you want to start entering your transactions. So if you did use a previous system, let's say, because I'm recording this video at the moment, we're in August. If you used a system up to the end of July, you would need to enter your conversion balances up to the end of July. But if you're a completely new business, then you just basically use whatever month you're starting from. So we're starting from August. And this screen, this account balances, is if you've got any historic information. It's something I'd suggest getting in contact with us if you do have historic balances, and we do offer a conversion service for you to make that as seamless as possible. Okay, so that is literally the sort of basic setup. I've whizzed through it because that's how easy it is to get up and running with the real basics, and just click on finish. Okay, so at this stage, you're going to have some different kind of widgets on your main dashboard. This is your main dashboard screen. Okay, so not all of this is going to be relevant for you. And my first tip is to edit your dashboard at the bottom and just hide anything other than your bank account, because you don't want to really confuse your experience with the system. You want to only use what you need to use. So if you click on edit, click on hide on the things you don't need. So click on hide on everything apart from the bank balances section, and then save changes, and then you've just got your bank screen. Okay, so to add your bank account is fairly straightforward. Okay, so it might look like this. So there's two ways initially to add your bank account. So on the main dashboard, you've got this little box that says add bank account. If for any reason you can't see that, if you go onto accounts, bank accounts, and add a bank account, it gives you exactly the same sort of process, but most of you will start from this screen here. Okay, so you literally follow through the sequence and add your own personal bank account details. Just be careful to select the right option, because they do give you quite a few options. You'll know if you've got the right option because the security internet questions it asks you will be relevant for that particular bank account. So just put some dummy details in this example. Okay, so then this is really personalized to you and your bank. It's all based on your online banking credentials. Just enter everything it requires at this stage. If you get any issues, our hands are tied, unfortunately, with connecting it to your bank, although it does tend to be fairly straightforward for most people. If you do get any problems, you can click on, if we go back to so we just go back a moment. If you do get any problems, you click on the question mark on your main sort of interface. If you click on bank feeds, it opens a complete new tab and just gives you a little bit of information on bank feeds, but you can also click contact Xero support. If you just click on I need help with something and just give them a quick description of your issue, and they can be very helpful most of the time, and they typically reply within sort of 24-hour time frame. Unfortunately, they don't have telephone support, but they try to do everything sort of by email. If you really do have any problems, make sure you exhaust all these avenues. check again you've got the right bank account. Let us know if there are any issues. We'll see if there's anything obvious, but usually Xero will let you know if there's something not quite right. And yeah, so that's the real sort of basic setup. And I'll just give you a quick whiz through the different headings and everything you have up here. So you've got your main dashboard, which should just be your bank account initially. Later on, if you do want a bit more information, that's something you can look at. Accounts, you can add additional bank accounts. If you're raising your own sales invoices, there's lots of different reports, and you can check what's unpaid in terms of sales, and we will cover that later on. If you are doing your own payroll on Xero and you're subscribed to that part of the software, this is the section you need to look at. Projects we don't tend to use, if I'm honest. It tends to be sort of larger businesses, but Xero does have lots of integrations. So for some people, that might be something you're interested in. Reports is quite interesting because once you're up to date with your numbers, there are some quite useful reports you can add here, and you can save the ones that are relevant for you. So if you click on all reports, anything with a star is basically showing up on this menu. So let's pretend you don't need the balance sheet, you don't need the cash summary. You want to know what money's due to you. This is if you're raising your own sales invoices, and you want to be able to look at your VAT return if you're a VAT registered business. So we've now clicked on, we refresh this screen. Okay, it looks like it's not refreshed, but you can essentially customize it. So only the reports which you're interested in show up on this drop-down menu. And you just click on all reports and just click on the relevant stars for the reports you're interested in. The other couple of interesting or relevant screens you'll need to use, I mean, advisor is mainly to be doing journals, which is something your bookkeeper or your accountant would typically do. It's more of a manual thing. And you've also on your advisor screen got an audit trail, so you've got history and notes activity that shows all the transactions that you've done, and you can actually go back and edit any individual transactions. Find a row code is a very, very useful feature that we'll cover later on, which again, you can go back and essentially amend some of your transactions. But the two really important screens is contacts. So if you click on contacts and you then select if you want to view a customer or supplier, and what happens is when you receive money from a customer, essentially, the details automatically log and Xero creates a customer for you. So they would be shown on this screen and on this list, and you can search, sort of filter by the customer name. If it's only picking up the name of the customer from the bank account because they've paid money into your bank, what you can do is click on the customer and add some additional details. If I give you an example, click on add contact in this instance. Let's just, this would obviously be a really nice customer to have if you had Nike Limited. So let's pretend you've received some money in your bank. You've gone on to your contacts, gone to your customers, and let's just refresh this screen. I think it's not refreshed. There we go. So this would be shown under customers. It's not in this instance because we've not set it up that way. But if you've received money from Nike Limited, it would be in your customer section. But at that stage, all you've got is basically their name. So you literally just click on the contact and just click on edit. And you can, at that stage, just add all the details you need to add. So you can add the main contact in that organisation, their email address, their address, everything you need for that particular business. If we go back to the contact. And what's really useful also is you can actually add notes. So you can use Xero as a little bit like a CRM system, which is a customer relationship manager. So if you wanted to, you can add some notes. So let's say you wanted to track your communication with this client. So called Joe at Nike meeting today. Save. So this is particularly useful if you want just a bit of history of that communication, or there's other members of staff in your business. it's not really linked to the bookkeeping. It's just, you know, a basic sort of client experience functionality, and it is really useful. On a side note, you can even link your Gmail or your Office 365 and view the history of your email activity and link it all to Xero. But that's one of the many sort of integrations Xero can offer. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a brief overview of how the contacts work. Settings does cover quite a lot of things. So we click on General Settings. The organisation settings is basically all the stuff that we initially set up. So you can go back and you can add or change anything that you selected initially. Just back a bit too far. There we go. So financial settings, again, is what we covered when we've done the first initial setup screen. So you've got your financial year end, your VAT settings, and your sort of conversion dates is just below that as well. You can add an additional user later on if you didn't do it initially. If you've got access to your subscription, you've set it yourself, you can do some amendments here to subscription. You can upgrade or downgrade your subscription. If we're looking after that for you, that's something we would need to do. You can make some changes to your chart of accounts, which is quite a common thing that people like to amend, which is why it's down here. And also, if you do decide to use the invoice inside of Xero, which is a more premium subscription, you can set up all of your sort of layout of your invoices and your logo and your payment terms and everything from here. So I think that's pretty much all of the basics. One other thing to look out for is you've got the Help Centre. If you click on the question mark, click on the Help Centre, and it does give you lots of resources. If there's anything you're a bit unsure about, it does give you some useful information on here. We are in the process of creating our own knowledge base. So this is our website. If you click on knowledge base, we are currently building our Xero resources. There's only a couple of things on here at the moment, and we will have more of an emphasis on practical guidance for the areas that most people need to know about, because the problem with resource centres is there's so much information, not all of it fits relevant for you. So these videos and also our knowledge base together will hopefully, you know, sort of help you find your way on Xero, particularly, you know, when you first start using it. Okay, so I think that's the basics. Nothing too exciting. Next few videos, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of Xero, and it'd be a bit more interesting because you can then relate it to what you need to do on a sort of day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Okay, thank you.